everybody, it's Krista here with Blooms and Brushstrokes. Welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, welcome. Thank you for joining me on my little watercolor journey here. And for those of you that are returning, thank you so much for already being here and for following along. I appreciate you guys so much. First, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who have been subscribing, liking, commenting, all that good stuff on my videos and engaging. That has helped with exposure of my YouTube tutorials. So thank you guys so much. Anyways, today we are I got some ranunculus yesterday from a friend of mine. She came out and got her hair done. And so she brought me, she does a bouquet subscription. So she brought me some beautiful ranunculus. So I thought, well, this is a good, this is awesome because I have fresh flowers here. So that's amazing. And somebody had commented on, I did a peony short with the dagger brush, just as I was kind of playing around with it. And somebody commented that they would like to have a longer video of that. So doing the ranunculus is quite similar to those peonies. It's just the line work is a little bit more condensed, which is really cool. I've just been getting to know this dagger brush myself. It's not one that I've been using a ton of, but I've been having a lot of fun using it. So if you guys don't have a dagger brush, I would highly recommend getting one and playing around with it. This is a 1/4 inch dagger Princeton Neptune brush, and I got it at Michael's. I don't know if Michael's is all across the world, but in Canada, it is a arts and crafts store, and they don't have a ton of watercolor paints there, but they have a lot of brushes. So they've got a lot of different other paints, but not a huge selection of watercolors. So that's the brush I'm using today. I'm going to use my Mungyo paints. I just like the selection of colors in there. So for what we're doing, it'll work fabulous. And I did a little practice run of it, of some of these here, just playing around before and warming up before I got painting today, and the colors worked out really great. So I absolutely love that. So Mungyo paints, we're going to use the CSY metallic ink box here, or metallic paints. I always say ink, I don't know why. I guess because I've used ink to start with. And then I have a variety of other brushes, which I'm not sure that I will use. If anything, I might use the 10-0 liner brush. That's that really fine one. But otherwise, that's it for supplies for this tutorial. I am using that Canson watercolor paper that I have been using. I've just been cutting it up into smaller pieces. As I've said before, it's this huge pad, and it's just not practical for me. I just don't use those big pieces. Hopefully one day I'll get into doing bigger pieces, but that's just not where I'm at right now. I enjoy the smaller pieces that you can kind of do fairly quickly, and then the tutorials aren't very long. So anyways, you guys, get all your supplies ready, and let's get painting some ranunculus flowers. These are one of my favorite flowers. I've actually grown some of these in my garden when I used to garden at the farm, and I could never get their stems this long. So anyways, I'm excited to have them as inspiration. So get everything together and let's get painting. All right, you guys, I'm all set up here. I forgot to mention that I will be also using my Micron 01 ink, micro archival ink pen. So get all your supplies ready to roll. I've activated all my paints already. I'm just going to show you guys quickly the fun little practice I was doing here this morning. So this is what we're going to kind of work on, something similar to this. I was just playing around with different techniques, getting warmed up to do a painting. So this is what we're gonna, similar to this. I got my Mungyo swatches. Of course, as I've always said, you guys don't need to use the exact colors that I'm using. You can use whatever colors you want. It's more so the technique. So you can really play around with it. And that's the one thing that I encourage everybody to do is when we do a tutorial, go and do it a few more times in a few different colors. It's fun, and you can just play around, and it really helps give you good experience. Okay, so here we have our 1/4 inch dagger, as I said before. And so this is an interesting brush because it does hold quite a bit of water in it. So this is going to get a little bit tricky. for you. And that's why I say practice, practice, because it's taken me quite a few times to really figure out how much water I want to use in it. So kind of the same as I do with the dot technique that I've shown you guys before. I get it wet and then I really kind of take some of that water off on the edge there. If it still looks like it's dripping, you can just take a little bit of paper towel and just kind of do a little dab, but you still want quite a bit of water in there. So first and foremost, we are going to work on, we'll work on a burgundy colored ranunculus to start with. So we're getting quite a bit of water on our brush. You can see it on there. I don't know if you can see it, but you'll start to get the feel of it. And then we're going to add just paint to the tip of it. I've mixed up Crimson Lake and Permanent Violet to create the burgundy look. And then I'm going to go in with the Crimson Lake just on its own to really kind of make that burgundy more vibrant. Sorry. So we're going to add a little bit of that to the tip of the brush. So to start with, we're going to start up here with one. We can do as many as we want to, but it's hard to see here, but ranunculus, it's easier to see on this light one. You know, they just got a bunch of petals. They're similar to, you know, a peony or even how the rose opens up. They're just more, the edges are more smooth. They're not so ripply. So you can kind of see that's kind of what we're going for. And you can see it a little bit better in person in the burgundy one, but they are very much similar flowers. So this one's just a little bit bigger and opened up more. So we'll start up here. Got our inspo here. And we're going to start by working in the middle. So we're going to do some really close lines together with lots of pigment on there. And we're going to work in here. Okay, so we're getting pretty good there. I think that looks good. So we're going to clean off our brush and we're going to just go in with just plain water and we're going to start to kind of build those petals out. But because we want it kind of opening up, we're not going to put too many petals up on the top here. We're going to build it more out like so and down at the bottom. So we're just using the tip and pushing down a little bit. So we've got some petals there and I don't want them to totally dry yet. So I'm going to go in with some of that Crimson Lake and we're going to add some of that into there straight up. Well, it's still got some wetness to those petals that we've put in. You can hear Tex rooting around in the background there. He's into the recycling. And we're just going to add that in a little like that. I like how that looks. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we've got that deep color in the middle and we're going to go and clean off our brush and we're just going to add a little bit of that Crimson Lake to the tip of this brush now, maybe with a little bit of that mixture, but mostly water. And we're going to start to build some bigger petals. So you're going to push down a little bit more, but you don't want to push down too heavy because unlike the peony, these are really, really close small flowers. A peony, they're close, but they're a big flower. So we're just going to work our way out by kind of moving that brush, wiggling it a little bit, and getting a little bit bigger as we go out. And you can see it looks like it's opening up. So if you want to go in and add just a teeny bit of that kind of deeper detail, you can with a little bit of that Crimson Lake, which is kind of it is kind of a burgundy. Just to add a bit more in there, but you don't want to get too crazy. Keeping it a little on the softer side. You can always go more vibrant, but it's easy to make these look really muddy. and you can get too busy. So I think that's going to do it for that one there. I think that looks really, really good for our first one. So next up, we're going to do another burgundy one. No, we're going to go and do the kind of the cream colored one, but we're going to use a gold. So we're going to use gold, and then we're also going to use burnt sienna to make this one come to life, but very diluted, okay? So now we're going to do a bit bigger one here beside it, and maybe we'll have it kind of opening up to that direction a little bit. So we're going to go in with the gold. Get your brush pretty wet. So we're getting that gold on the tip of our brush. It's kind of dried up a bit. And we can start in the middle here, and we're gonna, as I said, open up that way. So we're gonna start with some nice detail in the center, just with that tip, pushing down a little lightly on the angle. So I'm holding it kind of on an angle to this side, if you can see, and we're just starting to open that up a bit. Okay, so I like how that looks right now. And I want to kind of go in with a little bit of water just to keep it a little bit wet. And then we're going to get more water on our brush and on that gold on the tip again. And we're going to start to open up and just kind of push a little bit harder down on that angle, okay? But we aren't adding too many petals up at the top again because we're having it open up. So if you were to look at it from the side, it's hard to show, but you know, you can see more of the petals here as opposed to here. So that's what we're working on there. It's nice to have real flowers to look at and use as your inspiration. You can see where the light hits them. So we're just moving around this one, and we're getting bigger because this one's a bit bigger. So I don't want it to totally dry. I want to go in with a little bit of that burnt sienna. So I'm cleaning off my brush and I'm adding a bit of that burnt sienna to the tip. And I'm going to go in and add a few details softly with that burnt sienna. It's a little bit wet. So we're just going and adding it to some of the wetter, like the parts that are a little bit wet still. And just to add a little bit of that shadow kind of look and also a little bit more detail. That looks good. So again, go get some gold on there and we can go around and do, we're just adding gold to the tip. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's just there. And we're just gonna keep working around, and it's gonna get softer as we kind of get to the edges. Now this is tricky because I'm doing a tutorial, so I kind of gotta manipulate my brush a little bit. Oh yeah, that's looking beautiful. Lovely. I'm just adding a little bit of that burnt sienna to just a very little bit to kind of give that a little softer look. Now there might be a little bit too much water over here, but that's okay. We can go in once it's dry and we can add in a little bit more detail because you can't see too much petal detail in this area, but that's totally cool. I think that looks really good. So we're going to go in and we're going to add another, we're going to do another gold one down here. And I'm only going to stick to these two different colors because we're just keeping it simplified here. You can always add as many colors as you want, but I just like using what we have here. And the only reason I'm not using something more similar to this color is because it is just so pale. You wouldn't really see it too much in the tutorial. So we're going to go in and we're going to do another one down here. So we're just going to do the gold. Quite a bit of water on this one. And same thing, you don't want all your lines to attach because that's what's giving the look of the petals, right? So you want to kind of keep them a little distance apart. And then as you get further out, you start to press down a bit more with that beautiful dagger brush, which once you kind of start to get a little more familiar with it, it is a beauty brush. It's fun to work with. I see a lot of people painting with this brush. So these are very common techniques and styles, which I'm not one for really following the trends. So I will still be going in and adding in and we're going to work our way out with some nice big petals here on the outside. So we're going to be adding gold, and then we're going to drop down and we're going to bring it around. Just like so. And we can add a little bit up here. As I was saying, so we're going to still play around with the ink in these ones, and the gold and the metallic paints as well, just because these are common, and I see a lot of people painting this exact same type of flower, the exact same type of tutorials, and there's no problems with that at all. But I like to still have something that is a bit original and unique to me. And I love that black ink and stuff like that, as you guys know. So we'll be using those to add some detail, but we're going to keep it a little softer today, just to keep these the focus on how beautiful the paint is and the flowers are. So, but you can just see that little bit of burnt sienna going in there. Just really, like, I just love the combo of these two colors together. I think they look gorgeous. So I love that. I think that is amazing. So we can leave that one at that. And then we'll do another, maybe couple burgundy ones over here, just to kind of keep it fun. And then we're going to add in some leaves. As you can see on here, there are some really fun looking leaves. So we'll add those on as well. So we're going to go back to the burgundy. Now, I'm going to go in with what we've pre-mixed and a bit of that Crimson Lake on the tip. And I'm going to go with some pretty deep color on this one. A little bit of a smaller one. Yeah, a little smaller one, a little more condensed with lots of depth and color. Because, of course, the more closed up they are, the more saturated the color is. And we can have this one opening up a little bit more to the center. So we're starting to go on an angle a bit more and pushing down. And just be careful how you hold the brush, because we still want it to be pretty smooth petals. We don't want them to be super jagged like maybe a rose would be. I'm loving that one. So let's go in with some more of that color that we've mixed and add some of that depth into there. Amazing. And some of that Crimson Lake. And we're just putting quite a bit of that in there. So we are adding a lot of water and we're just really getting that in there. Add some nice depth to that. So we can add some water to our brush and back to the color that we were doing. And then we can just finish up with a bit of a nice pass kind of around the outside. I think that looks gorgeous. You know, you can go in and add, oh, we want to add a little bit depth over here. That's fine. You know, maybe some in here. That's just by taking a little bit of a little bit of pigment on the tip of your brush and dropping it in there. And I just like how intense it is in the center there. And then we'll do one more down here. And we can kind of have it so it's opening up and it's like more facing downwards, just so we kind of have an idea of all the angles that you can kind of work with. We're going to start this one with the Crimson Lake, and we're not going to, well, we'll add some of that burgundy in there, but we're going to start with the Crimson Lake. So we got quite a bit of that on the tip of it and quite a bit of water. And so we're going to start with the small, like the really close together part here, because we're going to open it up a bit this way. So it's kind of looking down a little bit. Okay, you guys? So this is the Crimson Lake. Just kind of getting that in there. Okay, you can knock off some of that color, clean off your brush a bit, and we can go in and start to pull that around. So this is going to get a little tricky because I'm going to be working a bit on an angle, so bear with me. You might need to clean your brush off a few times because we're just going to be pulling out kind of the paint that's already there, soft. Now we can add a little bit more Crimson Lake in there. Detail. Oh, that's looking good. So quite a bit of water back on that brush and a little bit of that Crimson Lake on the tip of it. Oh, that's a lot, but that's okay. Lots of water, lots of everything. So we want our brush to be kind of pointing towards the center. This is getting a little complicated, but it's all good. We might maybe have to go in with a little bit of detail once it dries again, just kind of like the same over here. But we don't need to. We can also use our black Micron pen. So we'll go in and add just a bit more. I like that. So that's kind of how fun you can, how much fun you can have with these daggers, which I didn't really know until I started playing around with it. And that's the thing. So the different angles you hold it on, the different amounts of pressure you put down, you're going to get a different look. So yeah. All right. So that's going to pretty much do it for the flowers. I do want to go in here and just add a little bit of details, a little bit more now that this one's dried up, so you guys can see how to do that kind of if you get it all blending together. So we're going to go back in with that gold, clean off your brush quite a bit, and then get a nice gold tip on there. And we can go in just like that and add in some more petal detail, because we kind of lost a bit of that with just the wetness. And that's lovely to do once it's already dried up. So you can see how awesome that looks by just going back in with your brush. And now if I didn't have it taped down and I wasn't doing a tutorial, I would likely spin it around so that I could get those nice angles without having to turn my wrist all these weird wonky directions, but that's okay. So I think we're pretty satisfied. We can start to work with our leaves. And as you can see, these leaves are really kind of dainty. They're a little bit wild. There's a stem, and then they kind of shoot off from there in groups of 3. And that we don't care so much about the detail, more so about the shape of them. And so you can get your brush cleaned off. And then I'm going to put it into, oopsie daisy. We're going to use some olive green and some sap green together because those are my favorites. So we're going to get our brush wet nice and wet. And then we're going to add a little dip of both of those onto your brush. You can always get your little piece of paper out and just check it. Yep, I like that color. Maybe we could add a little, yeah. Olive green, a little more olive green, a little more sap green. Yeah, perfect. So find the color of green you like. And then we're going to just go in. I'm just going to move this guy out of the way a little bit. And we're just going to kind of work. And by pushing down a bit and then off, and they just don't need to be perfect. So we're going to push down and kind of lift up, and you kind of get that little, you can see there, you get that little look of that leaf by just pushing down and lifting up and kind of rotating it a little bit. So we're just going to go in and kind of do a little bit of that. Then they don't need to be perfect, you guys. This is kind of the fun part of this here, is just having some leaves to fill in some of those spaces, okay? So wherever you feel you might need a little bit of that, go add some in. And the nice thing is you can have your brush one way, you can turn it around the other way. There's lots of options with this dagger brush, which I'm really loving. And that's, I think, the fun part about it and learning, is that you got to just practice and make mistakes and keep trying. And it's okay. So that's my hot tip to you guys, is even though you may be feeling a little frustrated and it may not be looking exactly how you want it, that's okay. You just got to keep with it. And you can just make some wonky little shapes in these areas. Good enough. I don't necessarily love how that greenery turned out in there. But I think once we get our line work in there and everything, it'll be cute. I'm not really sure how to, I like having the greenery in there. Maybe we need more. It is what it is with the greenery there. We'll add in our line work and our detail, and then it should look pretty. But I like this one and I like this one, and I don't love this in the middle, but that's how she goes sometimes when we're practicing and playing around. And hopefully once we get some line work in there, it'll feel a little bit better. All right, we're going to let this totally dry up, and then we're going to get in with our Micron ink pen, and then we'll go in with our metallic watercolors. So let that totally dry up, you guys, and then we will get into it. So as I said, we are going to go in lightly with the ink because we want to keep the softness of the flowers looking soft. So we're going to start up here on the top one, and we're just going to do some light line work, but really not following every petal because it gets busy looking. So we're just kind of going around and adding a little bit of that in there. Softly. And as we work out, the line work can become further apart. Closer to the center, you can have a little bit more in there. We're just going to go and do that with each one. You'll see it better on this one here. And we're just going to go around. And add in that detail. just like so. And you can do it for every single one. And you guys, if you are super happy with how your flowers turned out and you're like, nope, I don't want to add anything into there, Krista, like this is what I want already, then don't add anything more into it. Don't go and add the lines in, because a lot of people will be happy just like this. This is very like this, I see this a lot. So people will be very you'll probably be satisfied with how these flowers look. So if you are, just leave it at that. Don't go and add in anything more, because it can get too busy looking. As I've said, the ink is kind of it's my thing. And I've had people comment saying the ink is probably not necessary, or the metallic splatters not necessary. And that's cool, to each their own. But what I find is everything just starts to look the same if you don't find a little something that is uniquely you. That's why I continue to use the ink. I think these are beautiful before I put down ink, for sure. But it's not really my style. So I go and add it, I go and add in the ink detail because that is more my style. And I've worked on that over the last few years. And so that's why I do that. It doesn't always need to be a lot. It can be soft. It can just be a little bit. It can be harsh. It can be whatever. But for me, with the leaves, I'm just kind of going in and adding in I'm not going to go in and kind of outline every single one, but I'm going to do a line kind of through them to kind of give that look. So however you want to do that, if you want to kind of go and outline the leaves, go ahead, do that. Whatever you think looks good to you. And again, you don't have to add in the greenery. You could just do a whole bunch of flowers clumped together. You could even just add in a green background, which I think if I were to do this again, I might, I don't know. I can't quite decide, but I like the idea of having some of the green leaves poking through, because I like the leaves on these things. Okay, so now we're going to get out our liner brush, that 10-0 or the smallest brush you have. And I'm going to go in with the gold metallic. This will be fun. And we are going to splatter. So I'm using the gold in this CSY metallic here. And we're going to go in and we're just going to add some highlights with that gold. You can use whatever color you want, but I'm super attracted to the gold metallics for whatever color I'm using. Almost, even if it's a cooler color, it doesn't matter to me. I just like how that looks. So go ahead. We're going to do some splatter as well. Oh, I think that looks so cute. So as you get further out in your petals, the gold can be a little further spread out as you're working closer to the center of the flower. The gold can be closer together. So I'm just going to go and finish these up, you guys. You can go ahead and do the same. Just like that. Again, same thing with the gold. If it's not your style, don't do it. It's mine though, so that's why I'm doing it. I really like how that gold just, you don't see it in the video probably, but in real life it just adds that little bit of something. And you can see it like in this, how the sun shines on these paintings. You can definitely see the metallic. All right, so then our very last thing that I love to do, as you all know, is the splattering. And I think that's what's gonna bring this one all home to me. I'm gonna go in and get my #1 script brush because I wanna get a little bit more going on. We're gonna load it up. Lots and lots. I don't know, can you guys see that? Hopefully. We're gonna get a lot on there. And we're gonna start in the whole center and we're gonna blast out. You can do the centers of the flowers, center of the whole painting. And that adds in that extra little bit of pizzazz that I also like, which I know I've had people comment saying, well, you could do without that, but I love it, so I do it with, and you don't have to. Cute, very cute. Okay, so you can go in, sign your name, or not. And that is gonna do it for that, you guys. Let's take off our tape. I think we're a little off center, but that's okay. Makes it more interesting. We could have maybe had like one more flower over to the side here, but I think that looks decent all around. I'm not sure about the greenery and mostly this stuff in the middle. So I might, if I were to do this again, maybe have the flowers closer together. I'm not really sure. Something doesn't look totally right there, but again, we learn as we go. So that's that tutorial. If you guys love it, you know what to do. All right, you guys, that is going to do it for this tutorial today. I had a lot of fun working on this one. It's definitely a technique you can practice over and over again until you get it exactly how you want it. But I think it turned out good. Again, the greenery is meh, but I'll play around with that and figure out something for future. So if you guys enjoyed the tutorial, as I've said, please drop it in the comments section. The more you guys engage in my channel, the more my tutorials are pushed out to other viewers, and the more viewers that see it, the more viewers that get to experience what we're up to here. So again, please like, comment. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you are going to do these on Instagram, tag me in them and just give me a heads up if you're okay if I share it so I have your permission. And that is going to do it for this tutorial, guys. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Thanks for joining me.